Welcome back to the deep dive. We're looking at the problem.
Right.
We're talking about simulating the universe. I mean, the actual fundamental nuts and bolts of reality.
It's the ultimate computational stress test. We're effectively trying to replicate the architecture of existence inside machines.
Just to see if we understand how the machine works.
Exactly.
And historically, the computer always loses. Some breaking news from TU Wien about using AI to fix these simulations, and then incredibly dense, fascinating stack of papers on something called the formula for zero.
And the common thread here seems to be that our current math is broken, might be a harsh word.
Incredibly inefficient, let's say.
The standard way we do physics, specifically something called lattice quantum field theory, is hitting a wall. We're trying to calculate the infinite with tools designed for the finite.
But before we get to the fix, we really need to understand the break. Why is simulating the universe so hard? We have supercomputers that can model climate change, nuclear explosions. Why is a single proton so difficult?
It comes down to a fundamental difference between how we theoretically view the world and how computers actually operate. In standard physics, we assume space-time is continuous. It's smooth, like a fluid. You can zoom in forever and it never gets blocky.
But computers can't do that.
Computers are discrete. They deal in bits and zeros and ones. They can't do smooth. They can only do steps.
So to simulate the universe, physicists have to pixelate it. They have to turn the smooth fluid into Lego bricks.
Exactly. And this is what we call lattice QFT. Imagine throwing a fisherman's net over the universe.
Okay.
The knots in that net are the only places where you actually calculate the physics, the interactions of quarks, gluons, all the forces that hold matter together.
And the space between the knots.
You essentially ignore it, or you average it out.
And intuitively, I'm guessing the problem is that if the net has holes that are too big, the fish swim right through.
Precisely. To get the physics right, especially for something as complex as quantum chromodynamics.
Which describes the nucleus of an atom.
Right. For that, you need that net to be incredibly fine. You need the knots to be almost infinitely close together to mimic that smooth reality. But here's the trap.
Go on.
As you make the grid finer, the computational cost doesn't just go up linearly, it explodes.
This is what you call the infinity problem.
Technically, it's called UV divergence. As you zoom in, the energy scales get higher and higher. When you try to calculate interactions at those tiny scales, the standard math starts spitting out infinities.
It tells you the energy is infinite, mass is infinite.
And the computer crashes. To fix it, standard physics uses this mathematical trick called renormalization.
I've heard of this. It's basically subtracting one infinity from another to leave a finite, usable number, right?
That's the simplified version, yes. It's a very sophisticated, rigorous method of sweeping the dust under the rug.
Which always sounded to me like cheating.
You're not alone.
I don't like this answer, so I'll just subtract the part I don't like until it matches my experiment.
Many physicists have felt that way over the years, but look, it works. It gives us the standard model. The problem is it's computationally brutal.
How brutal?
Simulating a tiny chunk of a proton interaction can take a supercomputer months because it has to wrestle with these divergences and renormalization scales. It's so resource heavy and slow.
Okay, so that's the bottleneck. We have a grid, it's too coarse, and making it finer breaks the bank. This brings us to our first source from TU Wien. They're claiming they can use AI to cheat the system.
This is a very clever optimization. They aren't trying to rewrite the physics, they're trying to fix the grid.
Think of it as smart pixels.
Exactly.
The analogy that came to mind reading this was upscaling video. You know how modern TVs can take a fuzzy old 1080p movie and use AI to make it look like 4K? They fill in the details that aren't actually there.
That is surprisingly accurate. In a standard simulation, if your grid is coarse blocky, you get the wrong answer.
Right.
The physics is inaccurate because you're missing the high energy interactions happening between the knots. Usually you just make the grid finer.
But that's expensive.
The TU Wien researchers are doing something different. They're using neural networks to learn effective actions.
Effective action? Okay, let's unpack that term because it sounds like corporate speak, but I know it's physics.
It's deeply physical. The AI studies the relationship between a fine grid and a coarse grid. It learns a mathematical correction, a sort of lens that you can apply to the coarse grid.
So you run your simulation on the cheap, blocky lattice.
But the AI tweaks the parameters so the result looks like you ran it on the expensive fine lattice.
So it's finding a shortcut through the renormalization group flow. It's figuring out how the physics scales without doing the brute force calculation.
Exactly. It identifies what's called a fixed point, a state where the physics is stable no matter the zoom level. It's essentially telling the computer, hey, I know what happens in the gaps between the pixels, so just trust me. Here's the net effect.
And that's great for speed. It makes existing simulations viable. It's like a better compression algorithm. But then I open the other stack of papers, the formula for zero or FFZ stuff, and this feels like a completely different beast.
It is.
The TU Wien AI is a patch. FFZ feels like a demolition of the old way of thinking.
It's a radical pivot. The AI accepts that the universe is continuous and tries to approximate it better. FFZ asks a much more dangerous question.
Which is?
What if the universe isn't continuous at all? What if the assumption that leads to all those infinities, the whole idea that you can divide space forever, is just wrong?
And this is where we get into the heavy stuff. Discrete gauge theory on finite abelian torsion groups. I have to say, that title is a fortress designed to keep casual readers out.
It is dense, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But the core idea is really elegant. Standard physics uses real numbers.
Right.
Real numbers are continuous. You can divide them forever. 1, 1.1, 1.0001. FFZ replaces those with finite cyclic groups.
The papers use the notation zella za a plus zibo by, which looks like algebra homework, but you're saying it describes the structure of reality.
Don't let the symbol scare you. Think of a clock.
Okay.
A clock is a finite system. It goes 1, 2, up to 12, and then bam, it's back to 1. It wraps around.
That wrapping around is what mathematicians call torsion.
That's it. It's a cycle.
So in the FFZ framework, the values of the fields, like the strength of gravity or the charge of a particle, they aren't on a number line that goes to infinity. They're on a clock face.
Yes. And just think about the implication of that. If you're on a clock, you can never reach infinity. You could walk around the clock face forever, but you never get further than 12 away from where you started. You just cycle back.
So, because the numbers are finite by definition.
You literally cannot generate a UV divergence.
The computer can't crash because there's no infinity to calculate.
Exactly. The theory is UV finite by construction.
Yeah.
You don't need renormalization. You don't need to subtract infinities because they never arise in the first place.
You've just changed the rules of the game so that infinity isn't a valid move.
That's the idea.
That is a wild shift. I mean, we've spent decades building supercomputers to handle infinities, and FFZ just says, let's define a math where they don't exist. But my question is, does it work? Is this just pretty algebra, or does it actually look like reality?
The crucial question.
Because anyone can invent a math that doesn't crash, but does it describe a proton?
And the source material actually includes results from a Python script simulating this. They call it the zigzag plot.
Yeah, I saw this visual in the notes. They ran a simulation, and instead of a smooth curve or just, random static, they got this very specific uniform zigzag pattern, like a saw blade.
Now, to a traditional physicist, a zigzag looks like an error. It looks like discretization noise.
Right, like when you loom in too far on a digital photo and see the artifacts, we usually try to smooth that out.
We want the smooth curve. But in FFZ, that zigzag is a feature, not a bug.
Okay.
It represents what they call coherent torsion excitations.
Coherent torsion excitations. I need you to translate that into human. Is the zigzag the particle?
In a sense, yes.
Yeah.
Because the math is discrete. Because it steps like a clock instead of flowing like water. Energy levels jump in specific exact steps. That zigzag is the visual proof of quantization.
So it shows the system is stable.
It shows that the system is creating stable, repeating patterns that don't dissolve into chaos. It's a boson, a stable particle, emerging naturally from the math.
So the blockiness isn't an approximation of a smooth line. The blockiness is the reality. The universe creates particles because it's jumping between these clock positions.
That is the hypothesis. And this leads to the real showdown between the two methods we're discussing. The TU-Ween AI is an approximation tool. It's a black box.
Right.
It gives you a great answer, but it's guessing the continuum. It's saying this is what the smooth line probably looks like.
Whereas FFZ is what it offers algebraic exactness. You know why the answer is what it is? Because it's derived from strict rules of cohomology and torsion.
Cohomology. That's another one of those $10 words that keeps popping up in these papers.
Roughly speaking, cohomology is the study of shape and structure, specifically holes in a structure. In this context, it ensures that things like charge are conserved. It guarantees that topology of the system holds together.
This actually touches on a fear I have with the AI approach. We talk about large language models hallucinating, just making up facts. Can a physics AI hallucinate? Absolutely. It's a major risk. If you train a neural network to predict quantum fields, it might generate a state that looks plausible to the human eye, but violates a fundamental law.
Like creating energy out of nothing or breaking gauge symmetry.
Precisely. The AI doesn't know the laws of physics. It just knows statistical patterns.
So the AI might give you a simulation that looks perfect, but describes a universe that can't exist.
Right. It might create a perpetual motion machine purely by accident because it fit the curve well. But FFZ, because it's built on that rigid algebraic structure,
At clock face math?
it literally forbids those violations. A charge cannot simply vanish in FFZ. The cohomology prevents it. It's physically locked in.
So FFZ is safer, mathematically speaking. It's rigorous. But simulating a universe on a grid, even with finite math, is still a lot of number crunching, right?
Oh, absolutely.
A lattice with trillions of nodes is heavy.
Even if your math is perfect and finite, calculating the state of every point in a galaxy-sized grid is a massive computational load. The algebra is elegant, but the arithmetic is heavy.
And this is where the notes propose something really interesting. They asked, why not both?
The hybrid workflow. This is the part that I think makes this actionable right now, not just in 50 years. It's the synthesis of the two ideas.
So how do you combine a black box AI with exact algebra? It seems like a contradiction.
You use the AI as the engine and FFZ as the tracks. The proposal suggests using graph neural networks, GNNs, to predict the behavior of the lattice. You let the AI guess the eigenvalues, the energy states, for huge sections of the grid.
Which gives you the speed. The AI is fast.
Massive speed. But instead of letting the AI guess wildly, you constrain it. You tell the AI, you can guess, but your guess must satisfy these torsion rules. Your guess must land on a valid number on the clock face.
So you use the FFZ algebra as a guardrail.
Exactly. It prevents the hallucination. The AI provides the computation speed, but the FFZ framework guarantees the result remains physical. It's like bowling with the bumpers up. The AI throws the ball, but the FFZ physics ensures it stays in the lane.
The notes mention something specific here about pre-computing.
Yes. Think of it like building with Lego bricks. You use the exact FFZ math to calculate perfect, tiny cubes of space-time little exact blocks.
Okay.
These are computationally expensive to make, but you only make them once. You create a library of perfect physics blocks.
So you have your building materials.
Then you feed those blocks to the AI as training data. You teach the AI, this is what a valid piece of the universe looks like. Don't invent new ones, just arrange these. Then you let the AI stitch those blocks together to simulate an entire galaxy.
So you get the scalability of the neural network with the exactness guarantee of the torsion math.
Exactly.
That feels like a best of both worlds situation. You're not just approximating a broken infinity, you're scaling up a flawless finite geometry using the speed of modern AI.
And that geometry gets even more interesting when you look at paper D3 in the stack. We've been talking about particles, quarks, gluons, but FFC claims to handle gravity too.
And gravity is always the deal breaker. Quantum mechanics and gravity notoriously hate each other.
They hate each other in the continuum. You try to mix general relativity with quantum field theory, and the math just blows up immediately. You get singularities, points of infinite density everywhere.
Right.
But in FFZ, gravity is treated as curvature and torsion on this grid.
Torsion again, it really is the star of the show here.
It is. In Einstein's relativity, gravity is mostly curvature, the bending of space like a bowling ball on a trampoline. FFZ adds torsion, the twisting of space.
Twisting, like wringing out a towel.
That's a good visualization. FFZ says gravity involves both bending and twisting the discrete lattice. And because it's on a lattice, the formula for zero applies here too.
Meaning, no singularities.
No singularities,
Yeah.
no infinite gravity wells. Black holes don't break the math because, again, the values wrap around, the clock resets. If you compress matter enough, you don't get infinity, you get a maximum torsion state.
So it unifies them.
It effectively unifies gravity and quantum mechanics by treating them both as geometric properties of this finite grid.
That is huge. If that holds up, it solves the biggest problem in modern physics. But I want to bring this back to something practical for the listener. The notes mentioned quantum information and qubits.
This is the application that might arrive way before we simulate a whole universe. This is about building better computers right here on Earth.
Right. Usually we talk about qubits 0 and 1. The notes mention qubits with a D.
A qubit has D states. It isn't just binary. It could be base 3, base 10, whatever the torsion order is. But the exciting part isn't just the extra states. It's the stability. Remember that zigzag we talked about?
The coherent excitation. The feature, not a bug.
Yes. That stability suggests a geometric way to build quantum computers. One of the biggest problems in quantum computing right now is noise. Decoherence.
Yeah.
If a qubit gets too hot or vibrates the wrong way, it loses its data. It's incredibly fragile.
Which is why quantum computers are currently giant refrigerators kept at near absolute zero.
Exactly. They're trying to freeze the noise out. But FFZ suggests that if you store data in the torsion of the system, in the twist itself, it is topologically protected.
Topologically protected, meaning the noise can't get to it.
Meaning that to destroy the data, you'd have to untwist the entire structure of the lattice, which is energetically very difficult. Small vibrations, noise. Can't do it.
So give me an analogy.
Think of it like this. If you hold a loop of string together with tape, a little heat melts the tape and the loop opens. That's a standard qubit.
Okay, fragile.
But if you tie a knot in the string, heat won't untie the knot. The knot is part of the structure. That is topological protection.
So room temperature coherent states, is that a real possibility?
It's a theoretical possibility, yes. If the math is robust against noise because of this torsion structure, you might not need the giant refrigerator. You could potentially have stable, high-dimensional quantum processing at room temperature.
That would change everything. I mean, simulating the universe is cool, but a quantum computer on my desk is a different level of cool.
And it connects back to the core philosophy here. Structure beats force. Instead of forcing a fragile quantum state to stay put with lasers and magnets, you build a structure, the torsion, that naturally holds the state.
Okay, let's zoom out. We started with the headache of simulation. We looked at TU Wien making the pixel smarter. Then we pivoted to FFZ, which says, let's just use finite math that doesn't break.
And we found that the two can actually work together. The AI can build the finite universe for us faster than we ever could alone.
But the implication of FFC, it really sticks with me. If this works, if we can simulate the universe perfectly using these finite twisting clocks.
It implies something profound about the nature of reality.
Exactly. We always assume the universe is smooth. We assume that if we look close enough, it's just a continuous field. But if the formula for zero works better than the smooth math,
then the continuum, that smooth reality we think we live in, might just be an illusion. It might be what happens when these finite torsion groups get really, really big.
Like standing too close to a TV screen. From the couch, the image is smooth. Up close, it's just dots.
Precisely. If you have enough pixels, and they're small enough, it looks smooth. The paper suggests that if you take the parameters all in our $1, the size of those torsion clocks, and make them approach infinity, you get our reality.
So smooth reality is just a blur of finite pixels.
A blur of finite, twisting pixels.
Which raises the question, are we looking for answers in the wrong place by obsessing over continuous math?
I think we might be. We've spent a century trying to tame infinities. We've built massive machines to fight them. Maybe the universe never had them to begin with.
Maybe it's been finite this whole time.
Maybe the universe has been finite and exact this whole time, and we just didn't have the language to read the clock.
And maybe we should be looking for the zigzags in the noise.
I think that is exactly where the answer lies.
A fascinating look at the bedrock of reality. Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you in the next one.